Okay, we're up to Nazir Daf Mem Aleph, but we're a few lines down to by Rabbi Eliezer, but we need a bit of a hakdama to get into it because really it's a continuation of the sugya of yesterday. So yesterday's sugya we saw that there was conflicting brises. One said clearly that we understand that a Nazir Mitzayra, Mitzayra goes ahead and shaves with a tar. That was a given. We want to know where do you know Nazir from, and we want to learn Nazir from Mitzayra. But not Mitzayra is clearly when on the seventh day, when he takes his body shave, it's clearly with a razor. Then we had a Gemara that had a whole attempt, a whole limud. Where do you know that a Nazir Mitzayra goes, I keep on saying Nazir. A Mitzayra, how do you know his body shave is with a razor? How do you know it? Right? And we wanted to learn out from a Tzara Shava between Levium and Nazirim, and we failed to do it. And the Gemara had a basic question, like, 1 second. On one hand, you're telling me it's a given that a Mitzayra shaves with a razor. And now you're telling me you don't have a source for it? So what was that teretz? The teretz was the one that it's a given goes according to the Chachamim. The one that it's not a given, that you need a limit for, goes according to Rebbe Eliezer. Which Chachamim, which Rebbe Eliezer? The ones who argue by what Hashchasa Zaken. Okay, so this was the shita of the Rabbanon in Hashchasa Zaken, and this is how you knew how they knew tar by Mitzayra. You know, it seems to me when you lock this into place, you're locked into place. Let me stop the share again. So we saw a pasuk. The pasuk said, "V'hoya b'yom hashviya galeach is called Saro Esroishay Veziknoi." It said his beard. It's a mitzvah say to go ahead and use his beard, to cut his beard. In other words, he has to cut all his hair. He has to cut what? He has to cut his head and his beard. We asked the question, why do you need the pasuk to tell me his beard if it said called Saroi? So we learned Kahanim. It says over here Lo Yigalechu, and then by Yisrael it says Lashon Le'Sashchis. So we went ahead, and I just can't seem to bring it up right now. I don't know why, but I just can't. Oh, there you go. Okay, so now it says Le'Sashchis. You could see this? You can't see what I'm doing right now? No, you can't see it. Okay. You can't see what I'm doing right now, so how do I get it? Okay, now you can see. Yes, you can see it now? Okay. We said that. So it says that so this tells me that he is a mitzvah say for him to take a haircut to Mitzayra. Let's say he's a kohen Mitzayra, right? There's a lois say that he cannot only cut, he can't shave off his beard, right? Not only is mitzvah say, a lois say is not a say of Kleshim Yiyu. So how do you know I say dochalos I say? And so that's what Ziknai tells me. Ziknai tells me it's doicha, right? And how do you know it's with a razor? So we said, how do you know it's with a razor? Because it says lo yigalechu and it says lo sashchis. Well, it's not normal to shave with a tweezer or with a plane. You know, it's not normal. Even though a tweezer and a plane could be mashkas the whole thing. So therefore, that's how you knew it must be speaking batar. You must be speaking by the razor. Because if it could use anything else, you wouldn't even need the ziknai. You would need ziknai because we said Reish Lakish is din. When do we say asay dochalos asay is only we can't avoid being over the aveira. If I could avoid being over the aveira by using a depilatory or using scissors or something else, go ahead and do that. Ella must be don't want that. The only thing you could, and scissors is not the right answer, a plane or a tweezer, therefore must be asay dochalos asay. And this was the shita of the Chachamim. And Mamela we ascertained from here that the razor is the only means of going for a mitzayra to take a haircut. And the Rabbi Eliezer also holds to that. The question is, where does Rabbi Eliezer know it from? Why? Because Rabbi Eliezer, he did not darshan ziknai this way. Rabbi Eliezer, he dashin ziknoi to teach me that there's he dashin ziknoi to teach me that that the mitzvah is doicha the zikna of the kohen, that this is doicha the zikna of the kohen. But he says he said it could be with anything. He didn't say it had to be with a tar, right? So the mitzvah of mitzvah is doicha that he just used it for asay docha los asay, that this is docha this, but he didn't say it has to be batar. He didn't say it has to be batar. So the question is, where's the shita of Rabbi Eliezer? Where does Rabbi Eliezer in fact know this din of? Where does Rabbi Eliezer know the din of that the mitzvah has to be what with a tar? Where does he know that from? Okay, so if you look at Mem Aleph Amid Aleph, you look at Mem Aleph Amid Aleph. We're going to start about a few lines down. Rabbi Eliezer, my timer. Let's see Taisus right away. Rabbi Eliezer, the Amar, afilu liktoi b'malakif rehitni chayev b'pas the zaken, u'mechayev pas the zaken afilu b'sham ashchisin. He would hold that if you go ahead and cut your beard off with not lav dafka a razor, anything you be chayev. You be chayiv shaving your beard off with a plane or a tweezer, right? And it's the zikna the mitzvah the dochi lav the hashchas zaken, and you need the zikna to tell me that the essay is dochi los essay by zaken. V'hainu nami b'shar mashchisin, and not only that, but any other thing that even tar v'likni. But you need it unique to kohen to tell me a kohen. If you do mashkas either with a razor or any other implement that would be mashkas, like a tweezer or a plane, minole taglachas the mitzayra the dafke bitar, right? Where does he know it from? So in other words, we said that he's not limited. He said zikna is lav dafke with a tar. It's not a razor, not only a razor. So it's not only a razor that's pushing off the isser. It could be anything else. Where does he know what? Where does he know razor from by mitzvah? That's what we're trying to figure out now. Where does he know razor from mitzvah? So the pasuk, what does the pasuk say? All his hair. Now, all his hair would include roishay and ziknai. So he said ziknai is extra because it says kol sarai. In fact, the word roishay is extra also. Roishay is also extra, correct? Because it says kol sarai. So it's from this roishay that Rabbi Eliezer is going to learn his din. From that word roishay, he's going to learn the din that it's only betar. He's going to learn that mitzvah, again, mitzvah, how do you know mitzvah is only betar? Even though he holds in the Parsha of hashchasa zakein, it could be anything. How do you know mitzvah is betar? It comes out like this. Guys, it comes out like this. The Chachamim, they learned hashchasa zaken is only through a razor. Once hashchasa zaken is only through a razor, so too what? Mitzvah is only with a razor. As Rabbi Eliezer says, hashchasa zaken is lav dafka a razor, but even a tweezer or a plane would work, right? Therefore, you can't use the word zikna to teach me that. So therefore, where does he know a tar by mitzvah? In other words, everyone agrees that by mitzvah is only betar. The question is, where's Rabbi? We got the shita of the Chachamim. We know they know it from the word Zekanai. But where does Rabbi Eliezer know it from? That's the Gemara's kash right now. Rabbi Eliezer, my time, Yolaf me Roishay. He learns from the extra word of Roishay. Kol Sarai, Ves Roishay, Ves Kaina. So he learns from the word Roishay. The Tanya, Roishay. It says Roishay. Ma Tamaloi. Why do you have to tell me Roishay? Once you said that on the seventh day he cuts off all his hair, why do you have to tell me Roishay? Ma Tamaloi. Since it says by the Nazir, a tar should not go over his skin. Now, the Nazir is not going to shave his whole body. He's going to shave his head. Now, we know there's a din of Lesakifu pas Rosham. You're not allowed to go ahead and cut off your payas. So he's cutting off the payas. So in other words, we come into a conflict. The conflict by Kayin Mitzvah was hashchasa of the beard. And the conflict over here is what is shaving off the head, moving of the head. So you have a loisase also. So I might think the following: we know that a nazir he can't go ahead and shave with a razor during his naziris. He can't go ahead and cut his hair off with a razor. There's no issa to cut your hair off with a razor. The issa is to go ahead is to shave your sides, right? That's the issa. But the din of razor is a din in beard. People who are bald, very much a Jew is able to go ahead and take a razor and if he wants to remove some hair from the top of his head, he could do that, as long as it's not the sides. So now, what is you Roisha for? To teach me Yochel after Nazar came that what he can't shave his head. Therefore, it says Roishai. But and it's another mitzvah that the mitzvah has to go ahead and remove all his hair. Nazir has to remove all his hair, including the hair on the top of his head. And it teaches me that it has to be through a razor. Speak about a Nazir mitzvah, guys, right? A Nazir mitzvah says a Nazir can't use a razor. The Nazir is able to use a razor, and there's your source for a mitzvah using a razor. How do you know this is the source for a mitzvah using a razor? So it comes out interesting, guys, right? The source for Rabbanan was Kohen mitzvah. The source for Rabbi Eliezer is Nazir mitzvah, right? Now the Rabbanan, there's the Parsha of Hashchasa Zaken is said by Kahanim, right? Who's that kid? Shragi, who's that guy?
My son.
Shalom Aleichem. Okay, we have this parsha of Upasukana Lo Yigalechu. This is a din of Hashchasa of the Zaken, correct? It's said by Kahanim. So in Mele the Rabbanon who use this pasuk, right? Use this pasuk. It's a Kohen Mitzayra that teaches me this din. It's the Kohen Mitzayra that's teaching me this din. According to Rabbi Eliezer, the Roishai, I'm speaking about the Isser of Layav al Roishai, it's the Nazir Mitzvah teaching me the din. So it's the same din, but you're being arrived at from two totally different sources. It's the same din, but you're arriving it from two totally different sources. So now the Gemara wants to know about Rabbi Eliezer's din. This din that he says that Tal Layav al Roishai, if the Nazir Mitzvah would use a tweezer or a plane, he'd be okay. If that's the case, Roishai Lamali, why do you have to say the Roishai? Why do you have to say right? Lamemra da filu betar. No, it's the same kashriyah as yesterday. In other words, I have giving my druthers. I'd rather you go ahead and say, well, use something that is never in conflict. If the issue of the Nazir is betar, so go ahead and use something else. So Kamash Mla, that could even use a tar. Kamash Mla, you can complete the Nazir Mitzvah to a tar. I mean, like that was the question yesterday, that, even though you could use those things, Kamash Mla, the tar, says the Gemara, you can't say that. And the second, I mean, a hoil, again, the Lashon of Nazir is so much. Second, I mean, a hoil begaving Nazir, kiyav betar mechayev. Since a not Nazir, when he's a Nazir, if he uses a razor to cut his hair, is chayev. If he uses a razor rather than using the other two means, the locket, the hitni, or any other means, Kamash Malan, that you could use a tar, and therefore, how do you know it's there to teach me that it has to be only a tar? Maybe it's there to teach me even a tar. Guys, listen to my words. How do you know there it's to teach me only a razor? Maybe it's there to teach me even a razor, right? You even can use a razor. Not only use a razor by mitzvah, but you even could use a razor. Maybe that's what it's coming to teach me. Says the Gemara, no, Deloy. If you're going to tell me that there's other options besides a razor, such as a malakit v'hitni, Deloy cause of tar, right? Then Reish Lakish, you'd have what? You'd have Reish Lakish's din. And we don't say what Reish Lakish's din is, but we know it already, guys. Good. This is a case of mitzvah saseh, the mitzvah of the giluach of the mitzvah, being the doichet loy saseh of the sakifu pasroisham. Good. Now, let's say you can go ahead and use a malakit and a hitni, and you would not be over the issa. You wouldn't come into. You wouldn't need to be doichet loy saseh, because if the loy saseh is dafka yedei razor and you're not using a razor, there's no problem. When do we say asay dochalos asay is only when it's unavoidable? Here it's avoidable. If you have another option besides razor, such as a malakit for a hitni, then do it. And then you will need the limit of asay dochalos asay. Ella, when you have to need the Roshai to teach me the assay of the Galuach of the Mitzvahs, it must be why? Because he had no other Eitzah. It must be that the Tar is the only game in town, not even a game in town. So therefore, this is the same terrace one of the two Terutzim gave yesterday to answer two Terutzim to answer the Shaila. These are two Terutzim go ahead to answer the Shaila. So it comes out now. Let's see where we're holding. We're holding Tish over here. New sign. Oh, not this sign. This sign. Okay. New sign. The Rabbanon, they used Ziknoi to teach me Asay dochalos asay v'asay. What? The Asay of Tiglachas of Mitzayra is docha dolos asay of Ashchasas Ziknoi, and the Asay of Kedoshim Yiyu of the Kanavin Kodesh. That's what. And Mimela, we said it must be speaking that the mitzvah is to use a tar by the Mitzayra. Right? The mitzvah is to use a tar by Mitzayra. Therefore, I had no other options. Therefore, I couldn't avoid. I couldn't use anything else. Therefore, I'm mekayim the assay with a razor, and it's doicha the lois assay of cutting off your beard, despite the fact that I'm mekayim. Guys, good? Guys, are you good? This is chazar from yesterday. This thing, give me either a bobblehead or a finger up. Right? You're good? Thumbs up. Now, where does Rabbi Eliezer know this din from of Tiglachas of a tar? Here it is, guys. This is what we just did. He's a Mitzayra, he's a Nazir, right? He's a Nazir, and it says that what? The Roshai over here, what does the Roshai do? The Roshai tells me that a Nazir Mitzayra is Doicha the Lois Aselis Hakifu, and the fact that he's a Nazir of Kodesh. And it also tells me the mitzvah of Tiglachas B'tar, number 2, which is what I want to know. It tells me this is the mitzvah, because this is the mitzvah that I want to know. So he learns it, the Chachamim learn this mitzvah, which is the source of the sugya from Ziknoi, and Rabbi Eliezer learns it from here. So it's a nice little chart to go ahead and summarize what we just did. Okay, now, why did Rabbi Eliezer do what? What did Rabbi Eliezer do with Ziknoi? And what did the Chachamim do with Roshai? Let's see, okay? Should take a picture of that for the blog. Make not so professional looking, but very, very, it does the job. Guys, we have a good summary now. You have matched up what's going on over here. Okay, so now, Rabbanon, Hai Roshai Mai Darish Bey. Now the Rabbanon who know the din of Nazir B'tzar from the Zikna of Mitzayra, what do they do with the Roshai of Mitzayra that Rabbi Eliezer used for that din? Rabbi Eliezer used the din of tar from that din. Where does he know it from? We needed to go ahead and be doicha the lav of hakafa, the Tanya. Sakifu pas roishchem, right? You should not go ahead and round off the heads of your beards. Yachal ach mitzayra came that a mitzayra should, when he cuts off all his hair, he should leave off the hair on his head. Tamalayma roishai, right? Talmud 7 says roishai. Okay. The Tanya was zik. Ma tamalayma. Vishnema pasukan lo yigalechu yochlach mitzayra came tamalayma ziknoi. Lamin l'michtav roishai. Lamin l'michtav ziknoi. Okay. In other words, very geschmack, guys. Watch. We saw in this chart from yesterday, not this chart, this chart. We saw this chart from yesterday. We saw that the halacha of the assay of cutting off your mitzvah, cutting his hair, is dochu the los assay of cutting your beard, correct? So why does the chachamim need roishai to teach me that the mitzvah assay of the mitzvah is dochu the los assay of hakafas harosh? Good. That's what we're saying. He needs this to teach me hakafas harosh, right? That's what he needs to teach me. That the roishai teaches me like the chachamim of hakafas harosh. Okay. So why couldn't I learn it from Ashchasa? Just like the mitzvah say of mitzvah pushes off the lois say of cutting off my beard, the mitzvah of cutting his hair should go be doichad what? The din of hakafas harosh. So why would I need a special lima for that? That's what the Gemara's kasha is. Why would you need a special lima for that? It says no, it's tzricha, you need a special lima for both. Dikas Rachman Ziknoi. If you just tell me the din by kahanim of ashchas ziknoi by mitzvah of leikas of roishai, hava mina kafas kala roish leishma kafa. I would say when you go ahead and round off all the heads of your head completely, there's no issa. We said midaraisa, fellas. We said clearly the issa would be if you would just cut off the sides like this. You just round it off. But let's say you cut it all off like you do by mitzvah. Maybe you're not over the issa. The issa is that you should look like a monk. Like the monks, they cut off the hair, they round off the heads, and they're left with a little yarmulke of hair on top. That's the issa. What happens if there's no yarmulke on top? There's nothing. It's because why? Because cutting off all your hair is nothing. So if I would have just said zignoi, I could have said the reason he can cut off all his hair is because it's not over any aveira, right? I would say a kaf is called a roish leshmi akafa. Lahachi kas rachman a roish. Therefore writes roish to tell me no. That it's writing roish to tell me no. Hakaf is called a roish is an aveira, and therefore you need a roish to go ahead and teach me that. Because of roish, what happens if you said roish not zignoi, right? Havamina mashma tarti. I would hear two dinim. The asi asay v'dochalos asay umashmid akafas kol roish ma akafa, right? Vakati b'tarmi nolan. In other words, I learned two din from ziknai. One, I would learn the din that the assay of cutting the mitzvah cutting off all his hair is doichel lois assay of cutting off the zaken, and I also and mashmid that what that the hakafas. I'm not gonna. You're learning the nuz. It's like the nazir, the roishay, right? You like roishay. So roishay is like the nazir part. So guys, a nazir mitzayra, and you don't write ziknai. So I would say essay dochalos essay. Right? How would you know that? You would know that the din of the nazir cutting off his hair, the mitzayra cutting off his hair is doicha what? Is doicha the lav of leisakifu basroisham, and it also would know that it's a lav. And I know a kaf is called roish ma kafa. But Rakati B'Tarmi Nolan, I would know the din that it has to be through a razor. Because Rachman is Zikno to tell me it has to be through what? A razor. Okay? It has to be through a razor. Okay, so let's see this chart and summarize what we have. The Rabban's Ikalimu was Ziknoi. Essay Dochalos Asay V'Asay, you have the Asay Ashkas Zakein. Is the lois say the mitzvah's giluch is and it pushes both off, and we know it's through a tar. Why? Because it wasn't a razor. Then you would avoid the whole thing in the first place by using something else. Rabbi Lezer learns the same din from Roishai. Asay of Nazir is dochel los asay and asay of leisakifu and kodesh. And in Mela, since it's a mitzvah to do the lois has the mitzvah to do it, it must be through a tiklachas because it's through something other means. Again, the same thing. You could avoid the whole thing by using that other means. So these are the tulimudim, the main limudim of the sugya, which is that a mitzvah has to be through a tar. Good. Now, what does the chachamim do with Rabbi Eliezer's limud, and what does Rabbi Eliezer do with the chachamim's limud? So the Rabbanon who learn Roshai is to teach me that hakaf is called Rosh Ma'akafa. When I need a pasuk to tell me you can go ahead and Roshai to tell me it's doicha by Nazir, it's doicha Nazir mitzvah, that it's doicha the lav, it must be there's a lav. It must be there's a lav. What's the lav? Like sakifu. He's taking off all the hair, and that's good for the point. Even though you're taking off all the hair, don't think the issa is only when you take off, round it off. Even if you take off all the hair, there's an issa. That's what Rabbanan tell me. What does Rabbi Eliezer do with ziknoi? He says that the mitzvahs of mitzvah is hashkas is ziknoi by the kahanim. Right now, this is basically the same limud. You're telling me asay dochalos asay v'asay. Here's an asay los asay los akifu. Here's an asay of kodesh yiyah. Here you have a los asay of what of hashkas ziknoi, and you have what the fact that what that he's a kohen and kahanim is din of kadoshim yiyu, right? So l'chayr like Rabbi Eliezer, it's telling me the exact same thing. So even though the same limud from Nazir, you need a separate limudim because kahanim are riboy b'mitzvahs. Since kahanim are riboy b'mitzvahs, right, you couldn't learn out anything from it, and therefore I needed another source. The only thing we're left the guys with, the Gemara speaks out, is where does Rabbi Eliezer know essay dochalos asay from? The Chachamim guys, they learn essay dochalos asay from here. It says the assay of mitzvah is dochalos asay leisakifu. But Rabbi Eliezer, who uses this to teach me assay dochalos asay, where does he know Stam Asay Dochalos Asay? That's the Gemara's remaining question, and we're going to answer it right now. He learns it from our classic case of tzitzis. What does say by tzitzis? The Tanya, like silbus shatnis, right? Gedilim ta'aseh lecha, right? meaning even the place where you're going to be over the issue of a silver shatness, Gedilim Tasachol, you're able to make Gedilim. And this is Rabbi Eliezer source for what? For Asay Docha Lo Sasei.
Well, if you know, if I say Docha Lo Sasei, why would you need
again, that Tosfos says the kasha. It seems that you wouldn't even if you'd say that in that situation, you wouldn't say. In other words, in order to say Asay Docha Lo Sasei v'Asay, you must assume that he has a source. Asay Docha Lo Sasei. That's second base Shragi. Asay Docha Lo Sasei v'Asay is only that you know that Asay Docha Lo Sasei. You can't. The Tosfos says the kasha.
Oh, you wouldn't be able to even learn.
In other words, you can't jump to second base unless you know first base, right? You're working backwards, right? That they learned out. I say I say must be that they know what I say say, or else they won't be able to do that. It's good kasha. Tosfos yesterday. Okay, I wish everyone a great day. And so here it seems to be that people want to